Welcome back to Josh and Kristie Stealing the Internet. I'm Kristie.
And I'm Josh. Today's episode is all about terrible bosses. Let's get into the first one.
Am I the asshole for quitting without notice after my boss went behind my back?
Nah, you know what? Once they stab you in the back, you don't have to give notice.
Title might make you think NTA, but please read because I'm getting torn to shreds right now. I've worked at a franchise for 6 years, and I also have a second job that I've been at for 3 years. I have set days where I work job 1 on Wednesday through Friday and job 2 Monday through Tuesday.
I gotta say, the fact that you have to work 2 jobs is making me lean even further towards not the asshole. You don't owe them anything if they aren't paying you a living wage.
Well, she's still only working 5 days a week.
Oh, okay.
Monday, Tuesday at one job, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at the second job.
So they're keeping you part-time so they don't have to give you benefits then?
Probably, yeah. This morning, my colleague called in sick at job 1. Boss from job 1 called me, and I told him sorry that I'm at my other job today like usual. He said he understood and hung up the phone. 30 minutes later, and I get a call from job 2 just as I'm about to leave. They let me know that my boss from job 1 called them and said that he needed me at job 1. I was absolutely mortified and told job 2 that I will absolutely be coming into work today.
That is a wild overstep. I wasn't entirely sure what going behind your back meant, but I never assumed that he called your other job and said you can't go in today.
I wound up calling back job 1 and telling them not to expect me back this week or ever again because my boss had hugely overstepped a boundary. My boss hit the roof instantly and said he would sue me due to needing to close the business for the days I'm not there. I welcomed him to try.
Yeah, I don't know how he's gonna pull that one off.
So I'm sitting here now at job 2. I spoke to my boss and told her that I'll be going full-time as they had been begging me to do so for the last year. My phone is blowing up from my boss and colleagues at job 1 because I didn't give them notice. And now the business will suffer and my colleagues will miss out on money due to the store being closed. I feel bad about it, but I'm so angry and embarrassed after this morning. Am I the asshole?
No, you're clearly not the asshole. Unless you are, married to somebody or their mother and they're still a minor who calls in for someone else. Just the pure audacity to call in and cancel your other job because he needs you so badly. You're so integral to this store.
Maybe he should have hired you full-time and paid you benefits, and then he wouldn't need to worry about you being available.
Sounds like your second job understands how valuable you are because they just let you go full-time instantly. That's good for you, OP. Hopefully you get some benefits over there then. I'm running on the assumption that this is American law because I don't know anything about employment in other areas. But yeah, hopefully once you go full-time over there, you get insurance and 401k and things.
But also boss threatening to sue her because he's going to lose money because he can't open the store without her. Yeah, that's not going to work. You can quit a job at any time for any reason and not be liable. You can quit a job anytime for no reason and not be liable.
Yeah, especially if you have at-will employment. I assume OP does not have a contract that says they are required to give this much notice or they have to pay a penalty because they're working part-time. Sounds like at a shop.
Yeah, she said it's a franchise, which makes me think a store or a restaurant. So I'm guessing she probably does not have much of a contract, if any.
How incompetent is that boss at the first job that they're unable to open the shop without OP? At a franchise location like that, I expect a certain amount of turnover. And the fact that he has to close because OP called in makes me think that they're either understaffed, possibly because he acts like this, or that OP is just carrying way more weight than she should have been at that job.
I feel like as a manager, it is your job to find someone to cover the shift. And if you can't find someone, you need to go in yourself and cover it. Why isn't he going into the store and running it?
That is why managers get paid more money. Because when somebody calls in, guess what? It means you have to go in and fill in. Or find somebody.
But he doesn't want to go in. Can't he just call her other job and make her come in?
I would have quit this job at the exact same pace that OP did. Just instantly call back and be like, what the hell was that? I'm not coming back.
Top comment, NTA. Why would your boss think it's appropriate to call your other workplace? They should have told him to pound salt. Extra NTA because the old boss is threatening to sue you. Do not regret this decision.
Yeah, him going straight to I'm gonna sue you really validates your decision a lot.
Someone else agrees with us. Assuming US, barring a contract, OP is fine. It is at-will employment, which cuts both ways. It's not like your workplace gives you 2-week notice before firing you.
Yeah, they're not going to give you 2 weeks notice, so it's really their problem if they can't fill in the shifts.
Wow, NTA. Job 1 is clearly toxic. I can't understand what's going on in your boss's head or former colleagues there. You are not responsible for your coworkers. Your boss at one job has no right to interfere with your other job. That he or she has created a work environment that fosters this idea is kind of scary. Threatening you is an absolute last straw. For legal reasons, you should save all correspondence, including text messages and emails from that job.
Yeah, I think that's actually good advice when you leave any job. Like, don't break any laws by grabbing this information, but it's always good to have backups of a lot of your communications.
Especially if you are leaving on less than amicable terms.
Absolutely.
Boss at Job 1 absolutely overstepped bounds. Their poor planning is not your emergency. People really like that line. A lack of preparation on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine.
Especially because it sounds like OP has a fairly consistent schedule.
Yeah, they work at this job every week, Wednesday through Friday. And then at the other job, the one that the boss called and tried to cancel her thing, she works Monday and Tuesday.
So boss is aware that you are not available on these days. I don't even know why he called you.
But yeah, if you could just make yourself available because he needs you. You won't make yourself available? I'll make you available. Let me take care of this.
It's so ridiculous.
I almost feel like it was a bad idea letting him know where you work. You wouldn't think to hide that information, though, but it seems apparently in this case she needed to.
Right. It's absolutely one of those things where, like, I don't know why I should have to hide this. Lots of people have 2 part-time jobs. But turns out it bit you in the butt, so in hindsight, yeah, you should have hid that info.
If the business fails because one employee can't be there 2 days a week, that business was going to fail anyways. If your presence was absolutely critical to the business succeeding, they needed to be paying you an extremely large salary.
Yeah, OP, you are not the asshole, and I have to assume everyone that's calling you the asshole are just the people at that job where they missed out on wages for the day, which they should really just be mad at the boss for. Let's ditch the crab pot mentality, people.
I wore a suit to work and got my supervisor soft demoted. This is from our malicious compliance.
I'm not sure how that works. I have to assume that you were just so dapper that his boss is like, why doesn't that person have the damn job?
I'm posting mainly because I'm not a passive-aggressive type and I'm in disbelief that this actually worked. Ever since I started at my job a few months ago, my supervisor, we'll call him Josh. Haha, it's another Josh and he's an asshole.
Most of us are.
We'll call him Josh, has been micromanaging me. When I'm the subject of criticism, which is often, I try to give him the benefit of the doubt and ask him to clarify. What are your expectations? What specifically should I have done differently? Josh's responses are always vague, often something to the effect of, just do better. I even had a meeting with Josh in HR to address this, but to no avail.
Do we ever find out what industry OP is working in?
I don't think so. Some sort of office.
Okay, because just do better isn't exactly a good response in any situation. But depending on how specialized OP is, maybe boss doesn't know how to do their job. He's just looking at the end result and being like, well, this isn't working. But I guess once it devolves down to just do better, hard no.
Yesterday, Josh comes to my desk and tells me I need to dress better. Now, I work at a small company and the vibe is unusually casual. A not insignificant number of people come to work wearing jeans, hoodies, t-shirts, and/or baseball caps. I have never worn a hat to work, and I make a point of wearing a button-up shirt with a collar every day.
Okay, I mean, that information makes me think that OP works at a somewhat professional setting and not in a creative field. Because in advertising, it's just impressive when the creative team comes in not wearing pajama pants.
Like, even in front of clients and stuff?
Well, I mean, when they're allowed to see the clients, yes. But some of the creatives, you tuck them away.
You go hide in this back room, because we don't want people to see you.
It depends on the advertising agency you're at, but I definitely have been at a couple where the video editors were tucked in the back room, and, like, the logic is so that they don't have sound interference when they're editing, but part of me wonders if they tucked them so that the client can't see the guys.
This particular day, I was wearing a long-sleeve button-up flannel, chino pants, and Adidas Gazelles. Other days, I wear loafers and dress shirts that are tucked in. So I asked Josh to clarify. Should I be wearing dress shoes, dress shirt, tucked in? What specifically do you want me to change? Josh tells me I need to dress better and that I should talk to HR for clarification. So I go into HR and I ask, what is the dress code? I get a standard answer, pants, closed-toed shoes, no sleeveless shirts, etc. I ask, have I ever worn anything to work that poses a problem? HR says, no, you're fine.
Josh sounds like such a pain in the ass. Why is he even complaining if he doesn't have a specific problem he's complaining about?
Maybe he's just very excited to be the boss and that he has underlings he can pick on, and he has singled out this guy to be the one that he picks on.
It kind of sounds like it, doesn't it? This is not like acceptable boss behavior.
Because I'm mad and because my repeated efforts to resolve this kind of problem have gone unheeded, I decided to be petty. The next day, today, I showed up to work in a full suit. It's one I keep for events like weddings, so it's fitted and I look really sharp in it. It's also wildly and conspicuously overdressed for the office I work in. I had several interactions with people coming to my desk to comment on my outfit and ask what the occasion was. When anyone asked, only if they asked, I told them I had been told to dress better. This was always met with disbelief and incredulity.
That's really funny, and I am picturing OP in a full tux, even though they said suit, because I think it's far funnier.
2 people even said they like the way I dress normally. When anyone asked me who the order came from, again, only if they asked, I told them it came from Josh. I was expecting to pull my little stunt for a week, just to prove a point, and then go back to wearing what I had been wearing before. Word got around the office fast, apparently, because the CEO, Josh's direct boss, came to my desk later in the day to tell me I would be reporting to him now, and that he'd be having a talk with Josh about this and other issues. It's important to note that I was Josh's only underling, so he effectively went from being a supervisor to just a regular employee. I guess that's your answer for why Josh was picking on this guy. It's the only guy he was allowed to pick on as a boss.
OP was the only thing supporting Josh in the middle management slot. Now he's collapsed back down to employee.
Yeah, we're taking away the one person under you because you cannot be trusted with this amount of power.
It wasn't even that much power, Josh. You went mad way too soon.
I'm on a bit of a high now, but I think I'm going to come to work tomorrow wearing a different one of my flannels.
Good for you, OP. That is a prime example of malicious compliance right there.
Top comment, dress for the boss you want to have, not the one you currently have. Question mark?
That's great, yeah. And it's hard to ignore one of your employees suddenly coming in a suit and you sitting there at your desk being like, are they about to go to a wedding at like the halfway mark of today?
Why are they in a suit? This is so weird. This isn't a suit place.
Yeah, this person's really throwing off the office vibe. I'd better investigate. It certainly sends a message if you're sitting there in like a 3-piece suit.
Another comment, wear a tux tomorrow and demote the CEO. Keep getting progressively classier with your clothes.
Yeah, this is your hostile takeover strategy.
And then a wizard's robe and a staff to overthrow the chairperson of the board.
I don't know if wizard's outfit is an upgrade from tux, but I'm not sure what is, so sure, yeah.
Well, someone thinks the next step up from that is Pope hat and robes.
Okay, so the ranking order goes suit, tux, wizard's outfit, Pope, holy raiments?
Yeah, according to Reddit, yeah, that's the order of classiness of clothing.
Okay, it ramped up fast, I feel.
And then somebody in the comments had a little story they told that was almost a whole Reddit post in itself, but I want to read it. This reminds me of a true story my husband told me. This would have taken place in the 1950s. His childhood best friend's father was a skilled machinist. That can be a mentally exacting but sometimes dirty job, so they usually wore casual clothes to the shop. He had done this work for decades and liked the job. One day, when he was in his 50s, he simply decided that he was tired of always dressing in casual clothes. Life is too short for that, he decided, and he had several nice suits that he only wore to church, weddings, and funerals. Why not wear them all the time? So he began wearing suits to the shop every day. His coworkers were confused, but just shrugged and went about the work. It threw management into a tailspin, however. It made them uncomfortable in some undefinable way. Finally, at a loss as to how to handle this sartorial crisis, they promoted him to management.
His just overwhelming dapperness on the floor was Destroying the social hierarchy.
Just look at this man. He is obviously made for a managerial position. It's classic dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Turns out he was just like the 1950s equivalent of that hipster that wears a three-piece suit to work at a coffee shop.
Okay, but back to the original story. Someone in the comments asks, do you have any inkling of an idea on what the former supervisor's problem was with you? OP replied, he's new to supervising. The CEO gave him this role to test his mettle. But Josh is paranoid and anxious because he's never had this much responsibility before, and he's afraid of messing up. Unfortunately, he takes it out on me.
So he's afraid of messing it up, so he instantly messed it up.
Yeah, CEO gave him this test and he immediately failed.
He failed in the wrong direction, too. Like, if you just undermanage OP a bit, the CEO's probably going to step in and be like, actually, can you do it more like this, and give you advice. But if you fail in the maniacal way, the CEO's just going to be like, get the hell out of here.
You cannot handle this amount of responsibility. You are not management material.
Right? It just sounds like Josh has absolutely no chill.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode so far, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, it really helps us out and lets us know we should keep making fun videos like this for you.
Am I the asshole for lying about infertility to teach my boss a lesson?
What the hell kind of job does OP have?
So I, 32 female, started a new job about a month ago. My new boss, 50-ish female, is so unbelievably unprofessional, and I finally cracked. But now I'm having some regrets. In the interview, there was a weird question about, do you have kids? Are you planning on having a baby anytime soon? And that's weird and intrusive question to ask in an interview, and I can't imagine ever asking a stranger about that. But the new job is teaching preschool, and I brushed it off as a poorly worded way of asking if I had a child that they would need to have space for in the school. Like, if I was planning on starting a family, they would hold an empty space in the infant room so that my child could attend.
This is one of those ones that depends a lot on the tone of how they asked. Like, did they just ask you in, like, casual getting to know you terms? Or were they, like, prying because they don't want you to take time off for a sick kid? Like, the scale of it is either nice guy trying to be friendly to you or pure evil.
And that is why in the US, it is actually illegal to ask those questions in an interview.
Is it really?
It is. You cannot ask if they have kids or if they are planning on having kids in the future, because then you can discriminate against them because they may be taking maternity leave.
Oh, interesting.
It is illegal. So this boss is doing illegal things, but maybe she was, you could kind of maybe say she's doing it to see if they needed to have room in the preschool for her, but I don't know if I believe that.
Well, then that makes it a lot more sketchy, I suppose.
When I responded that no, I don't have any children, my boss followed up with, well, my son didn't settle down and start a family until his early 30s, so you have time. Again, super weird thing to say to a stranger.
Okay, so is she asking because she wants to know if you're going to take maternity time? Or is she asking because she wants you to settle down and start a family like all good women should?
It sounds a bit like the latter now that we finished out what she was saying.
A little bit. Either way, it's slightly concerning.
For the last month, the comments about me starting a family have been relentless. Like at least 3 times a week, my boss, the owner, is asking when I'm having kids or intentionally coming into my classroom while holding an infant and telling me how cute this new baby is and don't you want one of your own? She even sent out a staff memo about the joys of motherhood.
I don't even know what to say to that. That is a lot of pressure. It's not even a mother-in-law doing this to her daughter-in-law.
Right? You might expect this from your mother or mother-in-law, but not your boss.
Yeah, that's the part I can't wrap my head around, is like, why is your boss doing this?
I'm dating someone, not even engaged yet, and while I definitely see a future with him, our conversations about kids have mostly just been, let's have at least a year of enjoying marriage before bringing the stress of a baby.
Wait, she's not even married yet?
Nope! A little bit early to be settling down and starting a family if you haven't done the first step of getting married, right? I mean, I guess you don't have to get married before you settle down and have kids, but...
I feel like boss wants you to get married before you settle down and have kids, just based off of these questions.
It also seems like something that should only concern me, my significant other, and maybe a doctor. My workplace should have no say in that. Now, here's where I think I might be the asshole. Yesterday afternoon, Friday, as I was leaving work, my boss stopped me. and I assumed she was just going to tell me to have a nice weekend or remind me that we have no school on Monday or whatever. But no, she said, "Let me know if you have a little too much fun this weekend so I can save room in the baby room."
Wow, that one's wildly inappropriate. The other ones were inappropriate, but that one was crazy.
Yes, those were her exact words. I stared at her blankly for a couple seconds, trying to process what my employer had just said. And out of pure frustration, I responded with, "Actually, I just found out I'm infertile, but thank you for bringing up that pain," and walked out.
I really don't think OP had that one just pop into her head. Do you think that she's been contemplating lying about infertility for the past month because the boss won't stop nagging?
How do you tell your boss to stop nagging you about kids without being offensive to your boss who really wants you to have kids?
Yeah, because you don't want to be like, "No, I hate kids. You work at a daycare."
My plan in the moment was to make her feel awful and realize how absolutely intrusive and out of line her comments were. In hindsight, I don't think it was okay to make jokes like that because I know a lot of women genuinely do struggle with infertility, and I'm lucky to be able to, hypothetically, have children in the future. So I definitely feel a little bit of an asshole for that comment. But on the other hand, I feel like someone needed to put my employer in her place because if she continues to have no boundaries, she will undoubtedly ask someone who genuinely is struggling, and I wouldn't wish that pain on anyone. So, am I the asshole for lying about infertility in order to shut up my boss with no boundaries?
I understand that OP might be a little concerned that she, offended a group of the population that was not there for this conversation.
Yeah, by claiming that she's infertile when she's not, but there really are people who are infertile and struggle with that. Yeah, I can see that.
But I think worst case scenario, OP is a justified asshole. She needed to shut this boss down, especially after that last comment. Can you imagine if her boss was male? You'd punch him right in his throat.
Yeah, that's sexual harassment there. What are you doing asking about my plans if I'm getting laid this weekend?
So, I don't know. You shut her down and hopefully you embarrassed her enough that she'll stop. I don't think that you're the asshole in this scenario, no matter what your lie was, because she was being such a big asshole.
Top comment, NTA, but do not ever tell your boss you lied to her face. If you do become pregnant later and still work for this boss, remember to tell her it's a miracle and the doctors can't explain it.
Yeah, or just be like, it turns out that test result was bad. There's a lot of ways, but never admit the truth.
Another comment, as someone who did suffer from infertility and had to snap at several people like your boss, thank you for taking that hit for the team and teaching your boss not to ask those questions so they don't hurt someone who is genuinely struggling. NTA. And then there's some comments after that being like, yeah, agreeing with that. Apparently the infertile women group that she was afraid of offending are not offended and are thankful.
You know what? That's a good point, because I bet that they've had to have that difficult conversation with complete strangers before, and they should not have to have that conversation. So, yeah, OP took at least one hit for one of them.
And then someone does comment that in the United States, at least, your boss's questions are illegal, NTA. And OP replies, I am in the US. I thought they were illegal, or at the very least morally questionable. But like I said, I brushed it off at first as poorly worded questions about things that a preschool director would ask about for a potential employee. Are there any actual consequences for an employer asking these questions, or is it just frowned upon?
Well, at least asking it during the interview is probably illegal. I'm not sure there's any rules about asking this after she's hired.
Yeah, then it's just super inappropriate.
And possibly harassment. I think the reason that in my head I keep trying to give non-malicious reasoning for the boss asking all these questions is because I'm so used to old ladies just walking up and asking these types of questions.
Yeah, nosy old ladies who think everyone should enjoy the joys of motherhood.
So I guess I've just keep picturing a nosy older woman walking up and asking these very intrusive questions, and my response is just to politely try to get her to go away. But she's your boss, so you can't actually make her go away.
NTA, you did the right thing. People like her don't stop unless they are majorly shamed. I almost wish this would have happened in front of more people that snapped at her after you left. It's literally none of her business, and she's just a weirdo. You did nothing wrong.
I feel like your boss is the type of person that's going to ask if you're pregnant if you start gaining weight.
Oh, she definitely will. You look so tired today. Are you pregnant?
Just anything slightly wrong. Are you pregnant? Oh, I saw you weren't drinking at the gathering last night. Are you pregnant?
I see you've been cutting back on your coffee. Are we expecting a little visitor?
It's just constant.
Okay, one more comment. This one is a comment from OP. For anyone looking for a laugh, my boyfriend said that instead of snapping at her, I should have just texted her at 3 a.m. saying, "Whoops, we forgot a condom. I can't get pregnant if I'm on top, right?" Obviously, we are ignoring that suggestion.
Honestly, not as gross of a suggestion as I thought your boyfriend was going to make.
Hey, if your boss is going to be inappropriate, that is just opening the door for you to be inappropriate back, right?
That's true. It sounds like boss wants to have a frank discussion about your fertility, so there's no boundaries here.
My boss told me I was fired as soon as I got to work, laughed, and walked off. This is from our anti-work.
The laughing part seems awfully mean.
I spent the next 2 hours shutting down my station and packing my stuff, even destroyed my client list. Mine was the largest in the branch. When I got home about 3 hours later, he called me. And then he writes out the conversation, which went a little something like this. Boss: "Hey Z, where are you? I can't find you in the office." Me: "You fired me. Why the hell would I be at work?" Boss: "It's April Fool's. It was a joke. Get back in here."
Oh no. Oh no, it was April Fool's? That's not a funny April Fool's for one, but oh no, you destroyed so much on your way out.
Me: "No, you clearly said I'm fired. I'll be taking unemployment for a few months and filing a complaint with HR."
Sorry, from that statement right there, is OP planning on going back to work at this company after a couple months of unemployment?
I don't know. I didn't even consider that. I thought he was just like, "I'm done. I'm taking unemployment and I'll find another job somewhere else." But yeah, filing a complaint with HR.
Yeah, the filing a complaint with HR makes me wonder, is he coming back to this company? And then he destroyed his client list on his way out. Does he have a backup copy?
I don't know, but the story continues. My boss lost his shit and I just hung up on him. It's not fucking funny and I'm taking a vacation / riding the wrongful termination train. He has called me 10 times and I think HR is calling me now. Ooh, we do find out about the client list in an edit. I kept my physical copy of the client list and destroyed the digital on-site copy.
Okay, OP is an example of why you should not let your employee have access to their workstation after you fire them, because people like OP are going to steal a client list.
He does have an update, but first, let's discuss.
I mean, this one's pretty straightforward. Your boss sucks. Like,
that is a terrible April Fool's joke.
It's not even a joke.
It's not funny.
Yeah, jokes are funny, not mean. I can't understand it because he didn't have a punchline at all. He just said, "You're fired," and laughed and walked away. Jokes have stages and, like, depth.
Yeah, like, did he just assume that OP knew he was joking from the start? Or was he expecting OP to panic for a little bit and then he'd come back and be like, "I'm just kidding"? But he never came back and said that. So 3 hours later, he's like, "Where are you?"
This is the kind of joke that you can make with somebody who's practically your friend, right? Mm-hmm. I have worked at a couple places where the boss will be like, "Hey, you're fired," and the employee just looks at him and goes, "Ah, fuck off." This sounds like you do not have that kind of relationship.
Top comment. When I was 17 and got my driver's license, my mom told me, "I know the way you like to joke about things, but absolutely never joke coming home about how you crashed your car or anything. That's a serious thing, and I don't want to worry about you getting hurt or having to pay for the car." Lies, especially related to finance and health, aren't jokes, they're just mean.
Sorry, sounds like this person's teenage sense of humor was very similar to OP's boss.
It's immature.
Maybe immature is the word for it, because texting your mom, "Oh, I crashed the car," or whatever, is also not funny.
Another comment. My wife's boss tried that joke last year on a whole room full of people. Some of them started crying. It was horrible.
It's extra horrible because you are in a position of power over these people. You are the person who decides if they get a paycheck, and you really shouldn't be joking about this.
Another comment. This is why I hate April Fool's Day. It's a day when people who are not funny 364 days of the year suddenly think they're hilarious. Yeah, I agree. A lot of people's April Fool jokes are just terrible and not funny.
Yeah, because they just amount to pranks, and nobody likes a prankster.
Okay, on to the update. My boss told me I was fired as an April Fool's joke. All right, so after cooling off talking with HR, some other team leads, and a lawyer for several hours last night and today, it looks like my boss is losing his position in the company and has been put on leave. He's being replaced by somebody from my team. The other people he ran off are coming back and getting a raise for staying.
Sorry, there were other people he ran off? Did he just say this to everyone as they walked in the door?
I mean, it sounds like, yeah, maybe this was something he did to multiple people. That's terrible.
Or he's just horrible 365 days a year, not just on April 1st.
I am being shuffled to another team, getting a $5.15 raise, 4 bonus weeks of vacation. Starting yesterday, I need a break, going to use them all right now since the company is already doing some rearranging and stuff. The team I am getting, I will also be secondary lead on, and is a team I've been trying to get onto for 3 years. Much better bonuses and clientele. So I get a promotion and a raise. The new boss is far less of a hassle, and she is a lot more laid back. She went to great effort to get me to join the team she knew I wanted onto today and yesterday, and gave me a lot more than I wanted. My boss looks like he's fired from what I can tell. He has a history of issues, but he got his severance from what I heard. My coworkers from the previous team look to have collectively complained and used it as leverage for raises. I think they'll get them too. It's weird how fast this all turned around, but I think I'll be in a better place for it financially. Some of the advice I got from here helped a bit, and I wanted y'all to know that. I'm still doing some coordinating and stuff at the moment. It looks like I'll be taking my old client list with me and merging it with the starter client list they want to give me when I move into the new seat. And then he has a little edit. This manager has had a series of issues, and I just found out some may have been harassment claims in the past. The guy wasn't fired because of me, but because of the damage he did to the team in one day and a history of issues.
Okay, yeah, geez. It sounds like OP managed to pivot that firing into a raise and like a much better package overall. So good for OP.
Well, I was thinking he's just managed to turn that firing around back on his boss, and his boss was the one who got fired. But yeah, you're right. It's a double pivot. He's also went from being fired to getting a raise.
Yeah, maybe he got a raise and a don't sue us package. But apparently this boss was awful enough that your whole team banded together to get rid of him. So I guess it was his time.
One of the top comments. This is an epic failure on a boss's end, and ultimately a win for both the company and the workers, especially you. Congrats on holding your ground. I'm glad your company sounds like they dealt with the actual issues appropriately and swiftly. Yeah, that was smart of the company to get rid of this guy. Sounds like he was a terrible boss.
Yeah, and based off of a couple of those edits, it sounds like he was pranking the entire team, which is honestly just annoying. Especially for the company that now has to pay all of these people more money in order to not have their whole, it sounds like, sales team dissolve. So, good for you, OP. You got rid of a bad boss and you got a better job out of the deal.
Am I the asshole for giving a very silly, ugly smile in meetings after my boss said I should smile more?
Are there still people in the 2020s who don't know not to ask that question? Because you really can't tell people they need to smile more.
I work in a tech consulting job. I'm the only woman on the team, and my boss told me I was coming off harsh with clients and should be more upbeat and smile more. It felt ick. I right away texted my group chat of coworkers with the management in it, asking, has Boss Man ever told you guys to smile more? It was an immediate round of no's, and a couple of my coworkers asked if he said that to me and pointed out the double standard. A few of my coworkers joked that some of the clients we have right now don't give them anything to smile about. So then I asked if any of them had ever been called harsh, and it was again, all no's. I told them that the boss had told me to smile more, and one of my coworkers sent me a picture of a girl pulling a silly face with a weird pinched smile and bug-out eyes, saying, well, what Boss Man says, he gets.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's clearly an inappropriate thing to say to your employee. I'm not sure if this is a situation where you just react by pulling a weird face. It's more of a situation where you get him in trouble for saying something like that to you.
I thought that was hilarious and decided to actually do it. Anyway, I started smiling more and more around my boss, but also a bit stupidly, just keeping my mouth pinched tensely, gums on display, and purposely pulling my chin back towards my neck so I'd get a double chin.
Cool.
I never did it in front of actual clients, just my boss and coworkers who were in on the joke. And my boss kept looking uncomfortable when I did it. He asked me at a meeting about a week in what that face I was pulling was. I said, what face? He said, that one, just a second ago. And my coworker said, what? She was just smiling. What are you getting at her for?
You know what? Good on coworkers for having your back.
My boss said, it looked like she was pulling a face. And my other coworker pulled out his phone where he had some pictures from a recent happy hour where I was pulling that face to make my coworkers laugh. And he said, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? That's literally her smile. Look at this picture from last Friday. And all of my coworkers backed him up, saying that was just how I smiled.
You know what? I wasn't on board with this strategy, but the addition of the gaslighting has gotten me on your team here. I like it a lot.
My boss was looking kind of incredulous, so I clarified that if something makes me spontaneously laugh or grin, it probably looks a little more relaxed. But when I'm just putting on a smile to be polite or pose for a picture, I guess that's how I smile. And I was trying to be polite after he let me know I was coming off harsh in meetings. You're just over there making weird faces, and it's making your eyebrow twitch.
This is just how I smile. Am I doing it?
No, not really.
I'm trying to... She said that she smiles in a way that just her gums show.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
My lip doesn't go up high enough to show my gums. I can't make it go up high enough.
Yeah, this is...
No.
Yeah, I don't know. OP's just better at smiling than me, I guess.
Anyway, at my next one-on-one meeting, my boss said I didn't need to change my demeanor that much based on his comments. Because honestly, it was coming off disingenuous and that I looked worse in front of clients.
That's also not a great thing to say, bro.
I just said, yeah, I guess I've never really been good at being super peppy without looking fake. And as far as I know, that was the end of that. Except for it becoming a running joke at the office that I look like Nigel Thornberry, which is pretty smashing nickname, honestly. But I feel a little bad that I basically gaslit my boss and my coworkers were in on it instead of being direct with him and just saying that he was coming across a bit sexist. Am I the asshole for my fake smile thing?
I mean, this is one of those ones where you really can't be the asshole because the other person was being a giant asshole to you. But do I think that maybe you should have just gone to HR or whatever method of escalation you have? Maybe, because he didn't really correct his behavior at any point.
Yeah, like he's going to pull this on other women because he has not been called out on his sexism and that, hasn't been notified that that is not something you can say, especially to ladies. You can't tell them they need to smile more.
Yeah, so did your boss deserve to be gaslit over this? He absolutely did, and it's hilarious. But I feel like you haven't corrected the problem.
He's not going to learn anything from this.
I guess it's not your job to teach him to be a better person, but he's still your boss, so you still have to put up with him.
One of the top comments, NTA, he fucked around, he found out. Very glad your crew had your back. You all did the boss and the company a huge favor in settling this quietly amongst yourselves. It was a lawsuit waiting to happen. Bossman/corporation would have lost, but you and your team would have also lost time, energy, and life joy. And I don't know if I agree with that. I think he needs to be reprimanded in an actual formal way.
I can say with a lot of confidence, I disagree with the part where they said you did the company a favor. You have not done the company a favor. The company is still going to end up getting in trouble because of something this guy says. I still don't think you're the asshole in this, but I feel like he needed to be called out. And I feel like now that his whole team is cracking jokes behind his back like this, there is a chance that there's going to be some sort of backlash that lands on all of you.
Okay, but most of Reddit disagrees with us. They think that this was genius and hilarious.
And it was a genius level of gaslighting, and it was honestly funny.
I agree, but I do feel like this needs to be addressed directly with the boss. And I did find one comment that agrees with us.
Just one?
Well, I'm sure there might be more than one, but they're just not as upvoted as the ones who are thinking that this is the best thing that ever happened.
That's fair. Reddit is a fan of the immediate comeuppance, even though it sounds like boss doesn't know he received a comeuppance.
What the person who agrees with us says, NTA, definitely hilarious and worth a post over and malicious compliance. But I really hope you do have a conversation with the guy about the situation and his sexist BS. It sounds like you would be able to explain it to him in a way that might stop him from doing this kind of shit in the future.
Or at the very least, if you don't want to make this an issue with HR, one of the other male coworkers should pull him aside and be like, hey, fucking stop.
Someone replied to that comment, honestly, I would see if one of the male team members would do it. Boss seems like the kind of guy who would be more likely to listen to another guy.
That is unfortunately a type of guy, and if you don't want somebody in a position of authority to tell him to not do this, like his boss or HR, it's probably a good idea to have one of the team members just correct this behavior. But no matter what route OP takes, she's definitely not the asshole.
Yeah, it is super icky to tell the only woman in the office that she needs to smile more.
Yeah, it's not great.
Am I the asshole? I fired someone for pretending to be the manager.
How do we know that OP isn't pretending to be their manager right now? Maybe OP didn't have the authority to fire that person.
So I'm the manager of a construction company set up by my parents before they retired a few years ago. And although I'm relatively young to be running it, 28, I think I'm doing pretty well. Around 6 months ago, a friend of my father's lost his job, and because of his age, mid-50s, he was having trouble finding other work, so I was asked to give him a job. So I did, because I knew the guy had a lot of experience in the area. As soon as he started, I noticed him either not listening to me or just rolling his eyes whenever I took charge. And he would occasionally make comments like, I know what I'm doing, and I've been doing this longer than you.
Gosh, I wonder why he lost his last job.
But I ignored this because I figured it must be hard for him to be taking orders from someone almost half his age, so I mostly ignored it. Until yesterday. Yesterday, I was having a few issues with one of our clients. Nothing major, we just couldn't decide on the best way to proceed with the job. And he suddenly comes out with, actually, can I just talk to your boss so I can make sure there's no misunderstandings? So I, slightly surprised, responded with, oh, sorry if I never made it clear, but I'm the manager. And his face instantly turned into a glare, and he said, come on, kid, don't try and pull that. I'm fully aware that he's the manager. And he pointed straight to my father's friend.
Jeez, okay, isn't OP the owner?
Well, his parents are the owners, but they've retired, and he's now the manager.
Oh, they didn't give up ownership of the business, they just retired and is letting OP do all the work?
I think, yeah.
Oh, that sucks.
At this point, I asked the client if that man had been saying he's the manager. He confirmed that he had been under the assumption and that he was since the start of the job, and he had also been discussing details of the job with him as well. So, as you can expect, I go and talk to my father's friend and ask him if he's been pretending to be in charge. And he didn't even deny it and started trying to claim that he knows how to run a company better anyway. So I fired him on the spot in front of all the other staff and the client, and now I'm getting the third degree from both parents. So did I overreact or what?
I can't think of any other reaction to that. He's lying to a client and saying, I'm in charge.
Also, he's been discussing details of the project with the client. Has he ever been passing any of this on to OP, who the actual manager?
It sounds like no. Like, what kind of promises did he make? He's probably like, yeah, I'll make sure that gets done, and then going off script when he's working. Like, they're a construction company. Is this guy just walking off and instead of looking at the blueprint, just installing electrical where he shouldn't? Like, I don't know exactly what his job is. But you can't go rogue.
Top comment, NTA. He's undermining your authority, and he would have continued to do so. You did what you had to in order to maintain the respect of your employees.
The respect of your employees, the confidence of that client, and just the continuing function of your company as a whole. There's no other reaction in that scenario. The only thing I would say that OP did wrong, and this is something that you learn with experience, is that the older guys who are like, I'm older than you, I know more, generally the way to handle them, other than firing them, is telling them off to their face, and they get with the program a little better.
Yeah, telling them off to their face in front of people, too.
Yeah, just whenever he says it to you, be like, okay, well, I'm in charge, and you can either quit or you can fucking deal with it.
I'm the one who pays your paycheck, so, you know.
Yeah, you don't just ignore that type of behavior from this type of person. But OP admitted on their own that, you know, they aren't the most experienced yet. I feel like that's something that you learn because you screw it up once.
And OP does reply to that comment I just read. Yeah, honestly, I think I gave him way too much forgiveness for his attitude in the past. So this was a learning experience for OP. He realizes he gave him way too much leeway and should have, you know, hit down harder on him before.
Yeah, definitely. This is absolutely a situation that you learn to navigate because you screw it up once. So I don't think OP's the asshole. That guy is very clearly the asshole and was way overreaching. And just tell your parents what he was doing. I can't imagine your parents would be okay with that.
NTA, you did exactly what you had to do. Doesn't matter what your parents think either. It's your business to run now. Doing it publicly on the spot? This is one of those occasions where it seems appropriate. OP replied, yeah, at that point I had just had enough of him and it was very satisfying.
Sounds like he was getting on OP's nerves up to this point anyways. He did not have a good attitude when he came to work, did he?
NTA, this isn't even about pride. That guy was a liability. He clearly didn't respect you or appreciate the opportunity you gave him. By calling himself the manager, he was not only undermining you, but putting you at risk by telling clients he had more authority than he did. What if he had told them you'd do something you couldn't or couldn't safely do? Or if he had told them he'd do it at a price cheaper than what you'd charge? You're lucky you found out when you did. He was a time bomb. And then OP replies, I did find out later that there was a lot of information the client had told him that never reached me, so you're right, it was a time bomb.
That's insane. Yeah, you have to let this guy go on the spot. Like, he's completely undermining your job, and it sounds like this is a big job. Like, some of those construction companies have, like, one client a year because they're having to build such specialized buildings. I do have to add in, though, that it is baffling to me that they managed to get to the job site and already building whatever they're building, and the client didn't know who the hell their point of contact was.
I mean, maybe they thought the older guy was the boss and they're dealing with the boss's second when they're dealing with the young guy.
I guess so, and I don't know how the conversations went where this person just decided that he's going to pretend to be in charge. So, I can't really blame OP. This guy completely backstabbed you.
Some people disagree with us a little bit, though. I'm going with everyone sucks here. He totally deserved to get fired. Doing it in front of the staff and the client was a bit unprofessional on your part.
Is that the only thing that they had a problem with?
Yeah, but there's a lot of comments under that agreeing with him. It's super unprofessional to fire or even discipline in view of other employees, let alone a client. While the guy deserved it, it makes the rest of the staff wonder if they'll be reprimanded in public too.
I think that this is one of those scenarios where you had no choice but to fire him on the spot in front of the client because you have to reassert your own authority. He did so much damage. For starters, he needs to be off that job site this second. Like, no pack up, finish up what you're doing, no anything. Get him out of here. And secondly, the client needs to see that you are in charge because he put your entire job at risk. He put everyone else working there's paychecks at risk by doing this. So if anybody at the job site is like concerned that they might be next about public discipline, for starters, it's a construction company. The foremans there scream at people all the damn time. This is normal. But just send out a company-wide memo and being like, hey, he did this, so I had to put my foot down.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about being unprofessional.
I'm not even sure that's necessary unless you got the most professional, uptight construction company ever.
Yeah, because honestly, the fact that you didn't punch this guy in the face means that you're already a lot more controlled and calm than a lot of bosses in construction.
Yeah, but most of Reddit seems to think NTA, this guy had it coming and it needed to be done on the spot.
Yeah, there's just no real excuse he could have for acting like this on a job site.
Am I the asshole for launching a complaint on my boss over a fidget toy?
Well, who had the fidget toy? Or did boss take OP's fidget toy?
Work from home has ended and I have autism and ADHD. I found having those squishy fidget toys at a desk really helps me concentrate and problem solve. After 2 weeks back in the office, my manager Kyle said no toys at our desk. It's not preschool.
So it's not even like a fidget spinner. It's like a stress ball.
Yeah.
Those have just been on people's desks since forever. Those are just things that people shove at you when you go to conventions.
Yeah, but now they got like super cool squishy fidget toys. They aren't just like a stress ball, which might seem more professional than the gumdrop Nido that is hot pink. It's so squishy. I love it.
I mean, that's true. I don't see any problem with somebody having a couple toys on their desk, though. I think it's just kind of normal these days.
I asked HR and told them it helps with my disability and wasn't hurting anyone. They said it's not even their policy, so management really can't ban these items in the office. I had my fidget toy out one day and Kyle rips it out of my hand and puts it in a Starbucks coffee cup and throws it away. I now go to his manager and back to HR, and I get work from home again to meet my needs, and Kyle is suspended pending investigation into hostile work environment.
The part where he jammed it into his Starbucks coffee cup just seems extra petty, doesn't it?
I mean, you can't just throw someone's possessions away, but yeah, shoving it into his used coffee cup and throwing it away seems extra petty.
Just the lack of forethought on Kyle's part. How did he think snatching something out of an employee's hand was going to go?
Kyle is about 3 years away from retirement and may have to retire early now because he's crying to anyone that him finding another job after being fired for hostile work environment is going to be impossible. He's blaming me, saying I was out of line for having the squishy toy bothering him at work, but the toy makes no noise and Kyle has a private office, so there was no need for him to rip it out of my hand and throw it away after HR said they were already cool with it. Am I the asshole?
You're clearly not the asshole. It sounds like Kyle was just sitting at his desk and angrily watching you work while idly squeezing this stress toy.
Or Kyle just happened to walk by while OP was playing with it and was like, "This is unacceptable!"
Or Kyle was so jealous that OP gets to play with toys during the day. Kyle doesn't get to play with toys during the day. No one else can play with toys during the day.
Kyle should just bring in his own toys and then Kyle will have toys to play with. But that's not professional, so we can't do that.
No, because Kyle grew up old school. He knows he's not allowed to bring in his Stretch Armstrong to play with during work. As much as Kyle wants to bring in his Stretch Armstrong.
Did you have a Stretch Armstrong?
I did not, and I was really jealous of my friends that had a Stretch Armstrong.
I didn't either, but my cousin did, and then we broke it.
That's what happened to everybody's Stretch Armstrong, is that you either decided to find out how far he could stretch, or one of your older brothers took scissors to it, which I think happened to my friend's Stretch Armstrong. Turns out he was not as stretchy as
they advertised in the commercials.
Right.
He was not that stretchy. We barely stretched him, I feel like. And then he got a hole.
I just feel like the commercials inspired a lot of confidence in his stretchiness, and there were limits. And I feel like Kyle probably shares our opinion on this matter.
Top comment, NTA, he chose the hill he wanted to die on, and die on it he shall. Someone replied, exactly, and once again, the bully is blaming his victim for the consequences of their behavior.
Sort of like how we just blamed Stretch Armstrong for the consequences of our behavior.
Yeah, exactly like that.
It wasn't Stretch's fault. We grabbed him from either end and decided to pull as hard as we could. Poor Stretch and poor OP. They don't deserve this treatment. I'm taking this in a really weird direction, aren't I?
Okay, I do want to know, though, after OP went to HR and got the okay to have the toys on their desk, did they go to their boss and Kyle and tell them that HR says I'm allowed to have these and I need them for my disability? Or did they just never communicate that to Kyle?
Well, I would hope HR communicated it to Kyle, because that seems like standard practice to me, to be like, hey, employees are allowed to have fidget toys on their desks, or at the very least, we have no policy against it. But Kyle's too old school for that. He's like the Vac Man to OP's Stretch Armstrong.
What?
You know, Vac Man. Stretch Armstrong's bumpy, lumpy nemesis and master of shape-shifting mayhem.
I did not know there was more than one character in the Stretch Armstrong universe. I thought it was just Stretch Armstrong.
There was a whole cartoon series, Kristie.
This is from a cartoon? I thought it was just a toy and it was stretchy and they gave him a cool name.
No, it started as a toy, and then they made a cartoon season to advertise the toy. Like, all of 90s cartoons were just ploys to advertise toys.
Huh. I didn't know that.
But really, Kyle sucks.
NTA, first off, if there's no policy against them, he can't tell you off for having it. Second, if it helps with your productivity or focus, he should encourage it. And finally, WTF is going through a manager's mind to grab it out of your hand and throw it in the bin. If he thinks he's in the right about you not being allowed it, he should have gone down disciplinary process, wrote you up for not complying, told you to put it away, etc. You can't throw away someone else's property just because you're their manager. I hope he gets sacked for it, because I can't imagine that mindset makes him a good manager to other staff. You should ask that part of his punishment is replacing it, just for the look on his face when he has to give it to you.
Yeah, this is some real Vac Man bullshit, Kyle.
Stop with the Stretch Armstrong. Anyone younger than a millennial doesn't even know what that is.
I think they rebooted him at some point, if that helps. But seriously, though, Yeah, Kyle probably deserves some disciplinary action for ripping it out of your hands. That is kind of how a toddler behaves when they get upset.
That is way too aggressive for manager behavior.
Yeah, he didn't even just like write you up or something. He snatched it. You don't just grab things out of people's hands. You're supposed to learn that in preschool. Oh my god, did you know that there was a 2017 Netflix reboot of Stretch Armstrong? I did miss that entirely.
They didn't advertise it very much. Because no, I didn't know.
I think we need to watch it after this episode. Episode over, we're gonna go watch Stretch Armstrong.
I think I will pass. You have fun doing that. That is actually our last story for today. Thanks for joining us.
Hit that subscribe button and remember the Stretch Armstrong motto. Stretch him, tie him in knots, he always returns to his original shape. Really words to live by, honestly.
That motto is exactly why every single child broke their Stretch Armstrong toy.
Yeah, it probably is.